Your latest news update from Western Mass News.
Good Monday afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris Pisano with a look at your headlines. Torrential rains causing flooding issues across the Northeast. Crews rushing to rescue people in Williamsburg this morning as water surrounded their home on Ashfield Road. It's located next to Mill River. The road has been closed to traffic all day, along with a portion of Route 9 due to severe flooding. Main Street and other nearby roads were impacted as well. The rains affecting local marinas. At Brunel's Marina in South Hadley today, every boat that was docked was removed from the Connecticut River in anticipation for more rainfall and heavy flooding that's expected to travel down the river from New Hampshire and Vermont. It's a precaution for the safety of the boats and the docks should logs and debris come downriver and hit the docks. Much of the Northeast is dealing with massive flooding, including New York. The governor declaring a state of emergency in Orange County as the southeastern part of the state was especially hard hit. One woman died after being swept away by floodwaters. Officials at West Point, the military academy, say people were trapped in their cars and had to swim to safety. Search and rescue efforts are underway as the storm flooded roads and damaged property.
I'm meteorologist Jana Brown with a check of your forecast. Now, a lot of the heavy rain from the last 24 hours has moved out. However, there is still going to be river flooding that's going to impact the area over the next 2 days. In fact, some of the river crests, like the Connecticut River, is going to be Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So while there may not be flooding occurring right now, the Connecticut River at Montague, Northampton, Holyoke, the Deerfield River at West Deerfield and Charlemont are all under river flood warnings. So Tuesday and Wednesday, there could be some minor to moderate flooding close to those areas, so make sure that you monitor that. Now tonight, a spot shower or thunderstorm is still a possibility, but it seems like the severe weather threat came to an end pretty quickly today. We're mostly cloudy, partly cloudy at times, a bit cooler, some fog with lows falling back to the 60s. Then for tomorrow, not quite as humid, thank goodness. It's going to be a very warm day though, thanks to a lot of sunshine. Highs will reach middle to upper 80s with a light breeze out of the west, and humidity stays not comfortable per se, but definitely lower than it's been. Same for Wednesday, though. Wednesday, we could hit a high of 90 with partly cloudy skies. Then the humidity starts creeping back up toward the end of the week, building clouds for Thursday, scattered showers and thunderstorms Thursday late in the day through Friday. And we'll have to keep a close eye on that forecast as it could lead to some flood concerns.
Stay with Western Mass News on air, online, and on our app throughout the day for breaking news, weather, and exclusive content.